Hey, this is JS Clayden from Pitchshifter, and you are watching and or listening to
Thank you so much for joining, and sorry we couldn't link up, but thank you for taking the time to join up today. It's an exciting time. I just saw you sold out, and only 4 extra tickets, right, for the London show, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, they like to hold back like VIP tickets. There's old people like us. Old people in the fan base want to meet old people like us, so they always hold back VIP tickets. But I convinced the promoter to make more of them general admission. So we
Brilliant.
kind of sold out and then unsold out and then
Yeah,
sold
yeah.
out and then unsold out. So I think there's like two left.
That's a great sign. I mean, it's great to see that. I mean, you guys. I just to kick things off and say, I've been a big fan of yourself and your work since I got into music, and
You
it's really,
fool!
what's up?
You fool! You're thinking.
But it's awesome, and I think again, you're seeing that now that people are still out there, still discovering that, especially that album www.pitchshifter.com. It's such a iconic album, and I think people really see that, and it's really awesome to see it's getting the love and respect it deserves, and also to see the reception you guys are getting coming back to the UK after what I know has only been a year, but feels like a lot longer.
Very kind words. Yeah, we played a tour in 2018.
Yeah,
And then we did one show in like 2023 in the summer.
2000 Trees Festival, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome.
And so this is, I guess you could say it's it's the only real tour for like 6 years.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I remember when the news came across, it's big news. And I think before we get into that, what I wanted to sort of get an insight on what you've been up to specifically outside of Pitchshifter, because I know you're in LA now, and what's been going on behind the scenes? What's some stuff you've been working on?
I've been working on being a good dad.
Yeah,
So I have a, in America, they have middle school, which is a great concept, which they should have in England. So in England, you have primary school up until 11, right? And then you have middle school.
mm-hmm.
Sorry, and then you have secondary school from 11 to all the way up to potentially 18.
Yeah,
So we went to, we were a poor family.
mm.
So we lived in estates, which they would call the projects in America. So I remember going to school at 11 with the massive kids, and they wanted to be like, yeah, you're going to do my homework for me and carry my bag, or I'm going to smash your face in. So the good thing about America is they don't do that. So you have primary school, which is called elementary school, and then from like 11, 12, and 13, you go to middle school
Yeah.
only for those kids. So there's no bigger kids to beat you up, and you learn what high school is going to be like. So it's actually a pretty good concept. What I wish they'd have had when I was a kid. School was something to be survived.
Yeah. No,
It's
it's still it.
not something where you were nurtured and academically cherished. It was like, I'm going to survive. I'm going to make it through another day and get on the bus, right? So I've
Yeah.
been trying to be a good dad, and I have been working my normal job. Allegedly, I've fooled everyone into believing that I'm a pillar of the community in the normal world. But behind the scenes,
Yeah.
picture stuff, we've been working on the Nos Genius release, which is
Yep.
super exciting. I don't think anybody knows this, so you can have the exclusive.
Yeah.
We're going to release both Peel sessions on vinyl,
Incredible.
which have
Yeah.
never been released. So we're partnering with a company called Cold Spring
Yeah.
to release those on vinyl. There's another couple of books in the works, and but the big thing is the NOS Genius,
Yeah.
because there's a whole story behind that we can get into if you want. But the more exciting part is Enter Shikari did a remix,
Yeah.
and WARGASM have been engaged in a remix, and also This Is Menace. I managed to drag This Is Menace back together
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
do it. And then, I mean, it's not as exciting because it's just me, but it's the first time I've ever remixed Genius. I mean,
Yeah.
I wrote that damn tune 30 years ago and never once remixed, because I thought, in my youthful hubris, I thought that tune's perfect. I'm just going to leave it as is. But then you listen to it a lot later and you think, yeah, there's loads of stuff I should have done. I should have done this. I should have done that. So I did a remix of it as well. So that's pretty exciting. It's on colored vinyl.
Yeah.
And what we have come to realize is people like collectible stuff. And we're never going to, you know, we've all got our own careers now and we make more money than we ever did in Pitchshifter. So Pitchshifter, doing what we do now is really just kind of to curate the legacy.
Yeah.
It's not really like, oh, we're going to rip the fans off and retire to Acapulco. So we're really just doing stuff that we think is fun and that we think fans would think is fun. And the Pitchshifter community does have input into that. So they say, oh, we'd like this and we like that. So we're doing like sub releases within releases at the moment. So that vinyl, it's going to come out on 2 different colors of vinyl. I don't think anybody knows this either yet. So the Kickstarter is green translucent vinyl. Yeah. And then 3 different tier at a different obby. And an obby is those paper strips that you see in imported to Japan. Yeah. There's like 5 different obby colors that are all numbered and they're all hand numbered and all stickered. And then oh, I've got it here. Let's have a look.
Bring it out.
It disappears off screen. And some of the tiers get crazy stuff like this. So there's a
wow,
signed Test Drive 5.
No way.
With the PlayStation. Sorry,
that's my camera's so cool. That's cool. Good.
But we're doing cool stuff like that. And and the light, we're going to be selling it on the road.
Yep.
And the version on the road will be green and yellow splatter vinyl, which will be even different to the Kickstarter version. I don't think anybody knows that either. You're like getting mad exclusives, brother.
Yeah. No, thank you so much. And like I said, I think hearing that you're bringing this out and stuff, I mean, I'm a huge vinyl collector myself, and it was really great. I think I got your email across that you were doing this, and huge news, huge. And I think going back to what you were saying about sort of people really that album and the music done, the collaborative nature of these remixes, just how did that come to be with WARGASM and Rao and all these people? You know, it's not nothing. It's huge. You know, it's really, and it's great to see the new generation meeting the old and come together and
very kind words, young man. So I'll go into the story.
Yeah.
The original version of Genius, the demo version of Genius, has these lyrics on.
Mm-hmm.
The original version of lyrics go, if dysfunction is our, not a function, which everybody gets wrong, but if dysfunction is our function, and if I learn by our mistakes, then I must be some kind of genius. So it's self-deprecating humor of I've made so many mistakes, and if we learn by our mistakes, by now I should be a freaking genius, right?
Yeah.
In the studio, that bit got chopped out. It was kind of a creative decision at the last minute. It's nobody's fault. Machine didn't mess it up. Nobody messed it up. It was just kind of a last-minute creative decision. And those lyrics got chopped out. So in the album version, it just says, if dysfunction is our function, if dysfunction is our function, if dysfunction is our function, then I must be some kind of genius. It doesn't actually make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Let me just stop people from annoying me. Focus. Do not disturb. Okay. So it's just been that way for very many years. And then I found a version, you know, there's the Pitchshifter Vault. I've got like tape decks and DAT machines and D838s, which are like ancient technology that people dig up to find gold coins, like Johnny Depp movies in the future. And I was like, bloody hell, I've got a version of this with the correct lyrics. And also in the demo version, there's a dubby kind of bridge section where it goes into like halftime and goes a bit reggae dubby.
Yeah.
Everyone was like, oh, that's too nice. The song's just a banger, just make it bang all the way through. Yeah. So it's always kind of bugged me. Imagine the irony of your biggest song, and every time you sing it as the vocalist, you're like, these lyrics don't make sense. That bit's missing. You know, and you do it for 30 years and you're like, oh, and then I thought, you know what? I found this version, the album version, and I found the pre-album demo version and the in-between version. I'm going to combine them and make the version that should have always been, right? So it's I didn't do anything. I just kind of collated what should have always been there.
Yeah.
And that's what NOS Genius is. And obviously NOS New Old Stock is when you buy brand new tubes for your guitar amp, but they're from 1969, but never been opened in the box. So it's kind of that thing of this thing has always existed, but no one's actually ever heard it.
Yeah.
And there's a few other things of irony too, is that because the album was mastered to 1/4-inch Ampex tape, which is another ancient technology that they can look up. It's actually slower. It's like 25% of 1 BPM slower than it actually is on computer.
Oh, wow.
The tape machine was not necessarily calibrated. So that entire album is like, it's potentially imperceptible to anyone but a musician,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's actually slightly slower than it should be. And then also in that era, in 1997, the trend was to just master the crap out of everything. It's called
Yeah.
brick limiting, where you just shove the music into the limiters because louder is better. So louder isn't always better, kids, because when you take a nice dynamic signal that's super quiet in the verse and super loud in the chorus and you squish it together, it all sounds the same. So we took the opportunity of releasing actual proper, what should have been on the album version of Genius, fixed the time because it really genuinely is the correct BPM now, and also backed the mastering off a little bit so it doesn't sound like it was slammed into a meat grinder. So the song actually now sounds like how we always wanted it to sound, which is just kind of like a niggle of mine for 30 years, like, it's done. And then when that was done, I was like, said to Mark, I'm going to do a remix of it. And he's like, are you sure? You're dusting off your remix. I did a remix for Crushing State recently,
Yeah.
as a band who contacted me. And
Nice.
again, I don't get rich off of remixes. I do it because I enjoy it.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
did, but I was like, I'll do it because I like it. And that kind of got me my remix chops back up. I was like, you know what? Steady yourselves. I'm going to do a remix of this Genius track and see what happens. And they came out pretty good. So then Mark goes, why are we stopping at 1 remix? Why don't we put it out and get more remixes? And I was like, yeah, whatever. I am the hermit that lives in the cryo chamber on the hill. I
Yeah.
literally live in an area that backs onto uh, wilderness. It's a nature reserve. So I
Mm.
run. I try and go for a 5K run a day, and I'm like jumping over rattlesnakes and dodging deer and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
We have mountain lions and stuff out
I
here.
was about
So
to say, yeah, yeah.
I'm in the middle of nowhere. So I was like, Mark, I don't know anyone. And I left England 20 years ago. And he was like, oh, I'll make a few calls. So my brother, the bass player, making a few calls equals enter Shikari
Yeah.
plus the Menace plus WARGASM. So I'm like, you're the man. I don't know. I don't know, you know. And I think, you know, not trying to brag or be a dick or anything, but I think we had an influence on some of those bands in some way, you know.
No, yeah, and I was about to say, I think that I've seen it a lot lately, and in those artists exactly the influence of bands like yourself, it's coming back in their sounds when you can pick apart little bits that definitely take inspiration from your work, and I think that's what's brilliant and what was great about seeing this EP come together, or remix album come together, was because those are the artists I exactly saw. We're taking that sort of influence from that era of music, and it's great to see it getting that revival and also the coming together of yourself and these new artists.
And I'm sure Shikari supported us once a long time ago, before they became the giant behemoth that they are. But a
Yeah,
lot of those bands, we kind of took them out on the road. Even Therapy, I remember Therapy supported us, and then
yeah,
they
yeah.
took off to the stratosphere. That was our thing, and we still do it now. You know, there's 5 different bands on the tour, as well as Black Gold as main support. It's like, I don't feel like anybody really helped us that much.
Mm.
We were starting out, so we've always tried to pay it forward as much as we can. Again, but at this juncture in our career, you know, we get to be called nice words for old, like seminal and
Yeah,
veteran, which always makes me laugh. It's more about, what do we want to do? Is it fun? Is it going to be fun? Then we'll tour, which is why we don't tour very often.
yeah,
And you know why we don't put out releases very often is, will it be fun? Will it be fun for us? Will it hinder or benefit the legacy of Pitchshifter? And would it help any other band? So always interested in helping other bands if we can, and being engaged with other bands. And we've had some, you know, really amazing luck and friendships, you know, like Deftones and Quicksand and Junkie XL. And, you know, just looking back now, you're like, wow, I remember that. It was an amazing
yeah,
time.
absolutely.
And
And
I did this. There's one new thing that we snuck on that EP is
mhm,
chip. So I've been into vaporwave and retro wave and synth wave at the moment, because
yeah,
I've got, like I said, I've got a 12-year-old kid and a 15-year-old kid, and they listen to funk and trap and all kinds of mental stuff. You know, get off my lawn. I can say that music's terrible now because I'm old. But I I dig the chip tunes movement, and I did it. I'm currently working on a chip tunes album of all the Pitchshifter stuff. So basically using emulators so that the music could be played on a board like a Nintendo 64, only using those sounds, recreating the pitch shifter. So there's a version of Genius on that final 12-inch that I've done that is only using those sounds.
Wow, that's
It's
incredible.
fun. It's super fun. You listen to it like, oh my God, this reminds me of playing a ZX Spectrum.
But I think that's what's fun, and that's what's great about coming back now with the new technology. And like you said, it's just coming back and reworking this stuff, especially with the experience you've had as well. And you know, yeah, I think coming back is what's most exciting. And do you guys ever, as a band, ever come together? Because I guess you're in the States, the others are still in the UK.
Yeah, we're like the ship of Theseus, right? So Mark lived in Berlin. Mark, the bass player, my brother, lived in Berlin for a while. I've been in Los Angeles for about 24 years. Good
Yeah.
Lord. And then Dan and Tim live in Essex, and Cy, the drummer, lives in Brighton. So
All over.
yeah, so we really like it's Zoom and WhatsApp.
Yeah.
And one of the great things that by happenstance of Pitchshifter is because we use so much technology, there is a click track.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be able to play our music and just have somebody triggering stuff from a synth. It would just be a catastrophe, right? Because there's drum loops and samples and everything. So there is a click track.
Yeah.
So the joy of that is you can rehearse on your own.
Okay, brilliant. I was about to say that must
We
have.
always have a rehearsal before a tour. So every time we do a tour, everybody rehearses on their own.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we get together one day before the tour and we have a full rehearsal where we go through the entire set 2, 3, 4 times till everybody's happy. But the only reason that we can do that is because of the technology. If we were like a proper Rosesy band where we had to gel with each other, we'd just be awful, right? You don't play for 5 years and then stand in a room together. You're like, oh, how does this bit go? You know, I can't remember. It's awful. So that's the kind of advantage. I'm the crazy guy, right? Because I do it when I'm driving. So you'll pull up next to me on the freeway in LA and there's some mad guy shouting in his car. It'll be me, like rehearsing for Pitchshifter, but I just shouting. Because you can't hear the music. There's just some guy shouting his head off in the car next to you, like, what's that weirdo doing?
I'm sure there's been people seen far worse on the freeway.
Oh, yeah. I saw a house on the freeway once.
Really? Just a whole house?
It was one of those houses where they got it on a trailer. It was
Yeah,
a two-story house, massive house, and it fell off the trailer. So they just left it in the fast lane for like 3 months, and then it all got graffitied up because it was a house. The kids got on, and you drive by it and be like, "There's a house on the freeway." It's like a house on the fast lane of the M1.
Iconic landmark.
Yeah, what's there a house on the M1? LA.
Things that make sense here but don't anywhere else.
Don't make sense anywhere else.
Exactly. And I was going to say, so when you do all get back together and you're about to start a tour, how does that feel in a sense of just coming back into the same room? Because it is, as you said, it is a while when you're all in one room, and it has been a while since your last tour. Is there anything you're looking forward to? Anything you're not looking forward to?
Well, we're two sets of paternal brothers, right? So Dan and Tim Rayner are brothers, and Mark and I are brothers. So it's not like we have no contact. It's not like, you know, Guns N' Roses are getting back together and they haven't spoken to for 100 years. So we have a lot of contact, but it is nice to be together. I saw Perry Farrell trying to punch Dave Navarro on a video the other day. I was like, what's all that about? We are a lot more chill.
Yeah.
So it's really just about enjoying the experience, right? I'm going to bring the kids with me. They're going to get to see grandma, grandpa. I'm going to get my brother. I'm going to get to see my other 2 brothers from another mother, 3 brothers from another mother. So it really is very chill. It's a lot of love.
Yeah.
I don't drink anymore. My brother doesn't drink anymore. We both run like 5K, 10K a day. So it's not like, oh, we're going to get loaded and stay up, you know, late and hammered. We've got the families with us. It's super chill. It's a lot of hugs and, hey, where do you want to eat? And it's just about enjoying the experience. We don't have to do anything we don't want to do because the press agent or the publisher or the label's trying to get us to do something. You know, we just literally say, is this going to be fun? Yes, then we will do that, right? So we don't have anything to prove. We don't have to be like, you know, when you're younger, they're like, I do this show for free and it'll be great for your fans. Now we're just like, I don't want to do that. So it's just a big love fest, really. It's really just like, hey, man, great to see you.
That's great. It's more of a low-key affair, but a fun affair as well. And I think, is there any show in particular you're looking forward to most on these upcoming dates?
Here's the irony of Pitchshifter. Everyone thinks we're from Nottingham, but you know, Mark and I were born in Highbury at home next to the Highbury Arsenal Stadium.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, we're actually both from London. The city that I've lived the longest in my entire life is Los Angeles.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Right, so I was born and raised in London, lived in Leicester, Birmingham, Nottingham. I lived in France for a while. I lived in New York for a bit.
Yeah.
So people associate Pitchshifter as being a Nottingham band, but we're actually this bizarre ship of Theseus of different members. Mark and I are the constant, obviously different places, but there is an affinity with Nottingham and there is an affinity with London. And that's not to exclude any other cities, but I was born in Highbury. So to go and play Highbury Garage is special to me, right? I used to go and see Ian Wright play at Arsenal Stadium. And so playing Highbury is special for me, especially now I'm an expat and it's good to go back. And then obviously it's always good to play Nottingham. Nottingham's kind of one of the spiritual homes of the band, if not the physical home. So it's always good to go there. Rock City's awesome venue.
Yeah. No, and I'm obviously I'm from just outside London, so very much looking forward to that show as well. And is there anything people can expect? I know we've got the vinyls coming. What can people expect for your first, well, technically your first tour since 2018?
Knee supports, ibuprofen. We've added a couple of songs to the set that we haven't done for a long time. So we're going to switch up one of the songs every other day on the tour. We usually have some guests come up with us at specific shows just because it's fun, right? People that we know and who say, I'm in town. I'm like, oh, you want to come up and sing a tune? Like, yeah, let's do it. So there'll be a little bit of that. The Nos Genius is not available digitally. And it's not us trying to be dicks. It's just we're enjoying the physical product thing.
Yeah, as you should.
And so we're only making those things available. So people that come to the shows, I mean, we might make them digitally available next year, year after, whatever. But people who come to shows, they'll have the ability to get that stuff. And like I say, there's the splatter yellow green version that's only going to be available at shows. I am old enough to I keep talking about my age, but I'm old enough to remember when Geffen said to us, we're not releasing your second album on vinyl, or as MCA, we're not releasing this album on vinyl. We're only going to do cassette and CD. And I remember being heartbroken. I'm like, what are you talking about? You can't do vinyl. And then obviously nobody did vinyl all for a long time, but it's good to see it coming back because it's a lot more fun. I consider myself to be an artist. Hopefully that's not too pretentious, but my art isn't necessarily music. It's visual and lyrics and everything. And so vinyl's just a much better visual format because it's bigger. You can get stuff on it, right? So when you jump to CDs, everything's very small, but the print size of the 300 dpi dot pixel of a printer doesn't change, so you can't get as high a resolution. So I've always much favored the vinyl format just because you can get that much more visual on it. That makes sense.
No, me too. And is there a specific vinyl you have in your collection that is one of your favorites, just on that topic?
Oh, loads. I just bought a Square Pusher vinyl.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh
I've got like crazy stuff. Like I've got old Goldie vinyls and 12 inches and test pressings and stuff. I got mad stuff in there. I haven't even looked in it. I got, you got kids. You're busy like helping them with homework and getting them to sports. But every now and again you think, bloody hell. Like I've got a signed version of the Crow graphic novel where they talk about Pitchshifter in the intro.
Really? Wow.
I got a letter from Bill Hicks's mom because we sampled Bill Hicks and she was in charge of his estate. To get her permission. I got a nice letter from Bill Hicks' mom saying, yes, you have my permission. It's lovely that you people are keeping my son's history alive. So I got loads of mad stuff in the Pitchshifter archives. I got the original ink drawing of the 2000 AD comic where they drew Pitchshifter into it and all this stuff, like as well as test pressings and other vinyl. But I just kind of got like hordes of mental stuff that my kids probably have no interest in. They will get thrown in a landfill sometime when I die.
Give it time, they'll come round. And just what we like to do at the end of these interviews, we like to just do a bit of a quick fire round.
Okay.
I wanted to ask, is there a sort of new artist you're listening to right now that you'd like to sort of recommend? Is there any new musicians you're listening to?
I'm currently listening to everything that's on our tour, right? So that is Sabres, The Sad Season with Mikey from Six. Obviously, got a long history with him. Black Gold.
Next question would be, what advice would you have for new and emerging artists from your experience and what you've been and what you've done?
I mean, if anyone would listen to an old bugger like me, I think it's just stick to what you do. There's going to be a million people pulling you in a million different directions. If you get any traction, you should do this, you should do that. Try and pander to this audience. If you're trying to chase a sound, you'll always be chasing the dragon's tail. You know, if you think about all the music, or if I think about all the music that I really like, it was because it was different. When Black Old Sun came out by Soundgarden, that was the only thing in the world that sounded like that. Similarly with the Police, the Pistols, pick a band, right? When that thing came out, it was so unique. So you should just do what you do and just ignore everyone. There's always going to be haters. People say you can't please all the people all the time, but my thing is you can't please any of the people any of the time. There's always somebody who's upset, especially in the internet era where anyone, you know, living in their mom's basement can go online and say, this is the worst thing I've ever heard in my life. So just really stick to what it is that you do. And if it resonates with other people, great. But if it doesn't, you can still rest easy at the end of the day saying, I had this vision for my music. I put it out. It was the way I wanted it to sound. That's enough.
Yeah, stick to your guns.
Exactly.
That's the way to do it. No, I agree. That's really good. And I think just the last one would be, if you could change one thing in the scene, or if there's one thing you perhaps wish was done differently, what would that be and why?
In Pitchshifter?
No, in the music scene, just in
the music
scene. Yeah, I think specifically the alternative scene, because I think there's a lot.
I think
yeah.
This sounds like an old gripe, but more support for English bands or British bands, right? So I think America's got a lot of money behind it. And Pitchshifter had to go to America to get funded, right? British labels weren't interested. They were just like, oh, this is some nonsense, whatever. So we had to go to the States, sign to American labels and American publishers, and then come back to play England. So I think everything that is American is shiny, right? Here's what's going to happen for our tour. The American bands are going to come crashing in soon with all of their tour announcements, and people who say, oh, I can't possibly afford to go to a show, I'm broke as me, will suddenly have enough money to go and see Metallica.
Yeah.
Right. So I think it's, if you're from whatever country you're from, Brazil, England, wherever, support the artists from your country so that they can play to you. Right. So I think that's what I would say. It's that kind of like, make sure you buy locally grown food and all of that stuff. That's the one thing I would change in the British music scene, is a bit more support for British artists.
Yeah, that's great. And yeah, I completely agree. And I think that's one thing that, especially in the alternative sort of metal scene and rock and whatever you want to call it, you know, it's one thing that needs the most support as well, especially when you're creating a sound that's different and perhaps a bit more experimental. You need that as much support as possible. And I think the support is fantastic within the community, but yeah, definitely for sure the countries themselves need to put some backing behind that.
And America's really good at that, right? Because
Yeah.
it sees something and it thinks, oh, we'll invest in this and it'll make money, it'll make tax revenue. Right?
Yeah.
You know, but they do it. And especially if you're an awkward, uncomfortable band. I mean, when we first started, people didn't even know how to dance to us. They just stand and stare. Literally just stand and stare at the band.
Yeah.
And I have to jump off stage and show them how to
do
a dance and then jump back.
Yeah.
Not doing it. Because they'd look, you know, people would just be like, I don't understand. Does not compute. Bleep, bloop, bloop.
Yeah. And finally, what can people expect next from Pitchshifter in 2025?
Oh God, I don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna do a chiptunes album just because I dig it. I think it's funny, right? And we did release the .com demo on mini disc. I'll probably release the chiptunes album on mini disc as well as vinyl and a couple of other formats because I think it's funny. And then we'll do a couple of more books. There's a couple of more tour diary books. So I wrote tour diaries when we were on the road in the heyday of the madness, and I've been slowly writing those up into books and doing them as Kickstarters. So they're fun, like super collectible. So there'll be a couple of books. There'll be a chiptunes album, and then we are releasing the both Peel sessions into one vinyl. John Peel, what a god. So that's kind of 4 things we've got going on.
Yeah.
That's enough. That's enough, Felix. Don't make me do any more. I'm too old.
No festivals, nothing we can expect. Maybe another return to download.
Who knows? That's all up to the promoters, right? And whether we're around. I think, not to sound pessimistic, but one of the things that makes bands special and unique is that they can implode at any time.
Yeah.
They can fall out, somebody can die, somebody can be hospitalized, whatever it is, someone can do I'm going to live in the woods and make flute music. I'm not doing rock and roll anymore. So you never know what's going to happen. So, we're not as young as we used to be. And if we're only playing every 5 years, you have to always wonder, I always think, is this one the last one?
Yeah.
Right? Because does anybody want to see 60-year-old Pitchshifter trying to headbang? Will any of our fans still be alive by then? So, I don't say that to try and sell tickets, because again, we're not going to retire to Acapulco playing a couple of shows in England. But I always question, like, is this going to be the last go around? So that's how I personally treat it. I'm just like, all right, this is the last go around. Let's just have a laugh and give it everything.
Absolutely.
Take the painkillers on the plane on the way home. But we'll see. I don't know. Who knows?